Hello, and you are listening to Half Hour History, the show where you might learn something, but we guarantee nothing. I'm Jacinta.
I'm Luke.
And this time we're talking about Dokkaebi. Now, right off the bat, I think we probably do need to acknowledge our resident ghost, Prince Eddie, as our third co-host, just so he doesn't cause any hijinks.
I know, this show is haunted.
Yeah.
HHHH, haunted half-hour history.
Yeah, I mean, look, I feel like Prince Eddie is a benevolent spirit. I don't feel like he wants to make too much trouble for us.
Gosh, I hope not.
But I think as long as we kind of, include him in things, I think we'll be fine.
We need to learn more about, the supernatural. Like, do we leave out offerings to him? What do princes eat?
Well, I mean, he was a young, sort of worldly, handsome prince who loved the ladies when he died. So I think just, some beer and chips, that's probably what he's into. A fleshlight. He wouldn't have had one of those back in the early 1900s.
No, probably not, unless they sort of...
Actually, the late 1800s he died.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so he wouldn't have had a fleshlight. He probably would absolutely love one of those.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So anyway, we're not talking about fleshlights and Prince Eddie. We're talking about Dokkaebi this time around.
Dokkaebi.
Yes.
Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah, well...
I feel like I'm being homeschooled when we do this, because I know nothing about what we're going to talk about. I'm just sitting here...
You retain very little as we...
With my notepad out, ready to learn, yeah. I was saying to someone, we did Mary of Tech last week, and they were like, who's she? And I was like,
Somebody?
She's got a gun in her thigh.
Yeah, so
she was on Downton Abbey.
Yeah, with Mary of Tech, I guess we do like to have a bit of a pop culture element to the show, and the ties with Mary of Tech are a little bit tenuous, but they are not tenuous for Dokkaebi.
Dokkaebi, I'm excited about. I've got a feeling this is right up my alley.
So there was, at the end of last year, there was a Korean K-drama that was called Goblin, the Great and the Lonely and Powerful God, or something like that.
You fucking went nuts over this goblin. So normally it's like around about the end of the episode where I go, now I know why you're teaching me about this thing, because there's this link to this thing that you like. But now I get this.
Yeah, so I was obsessed with this TV show. You watched most of the first episode, but you didn't get much further than that. So
it was just too intense.
Yeah, there was just too much going on, and I managed to brave the tsunami of intensity in the first episode and got all the way through.
I was disappointed that, for me, a goblin should be green, small, have scabs on his nose, have a little club, want to take your pennies.
And instead, he was one of the most handsome men I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, which was crazy.
Yeah, it was just crazy.
Who's ever heard of a sexy goblin?
Never.
Not J.R.R. Tolkien, that's for sure.
Absolutely not. So that's where this episode is really coming from, because I thought let's look at what the hell a Dokkaebi actually is. Is it a sexy man in nice clothes? No, it's not, sadly, but we'll find out what it is.
A Dokkaebi is a Korean goblin?
Kind of.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't want to jump the gun.
No, you probably don't, because that's literally what my first paragraph is about.
Okay.
So, Dokkaebi are legendary Korean mythological creatures that are often called Korean goblins by white people. But goblin in itself is a bit of a shitty translation of the concept, because it's more like a mashup of a bunch of Western mythological creature characteristics rather than being related to just one. So to pigeonhole them as just goblins is not really correct.
I've got a question.
Okay.
Is it in Yokai Watch? I know that's not Korean, but it's got lots of...
That's pretty racist, Luke.
...things in it.
Yeah.
That
No, aren't yokai... They're all ghosts, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yokai are ghosts.
And there's, crazy mythological things as well,
isn't
there?
Okay.
I don't know. This isn't a ghost?
No, it's not a ghost. It's a Dokkaebi.
A Dokkaebi.
Yeah, there is... what a Korean ghost. They're like Guishin or something. Different things.
So this is not a ghost?
No, definitely not a ghost. But...
Yes.
Dokkaebi, they're a pretty big deal. like in Korea, and have been described as being to Korea as what like the leprechaun is to Ireland.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
That's a big claim.
Yeah, so like leprechauns, Dokkaebi are mostly pretty friendly creatures, but who like to cause mischief sometimes when they feel like pissing on someone's parade.
Literally?
Well, I would imagine so, yeah, because you can imagine a leprechaun. They drink a lot.
They drink all the time.
They need to let it go somewhere, so they would just find a parade, piss on it, and then they're happy to go again. So the appearance of the Dokkaebi varies depending on who you're talking to and what kind of Dokkaebi you're talking about. So accounts throughout history have varied, but these pattern tiles that were found with drawings of Dokkaebi on them from like 2,000 years ago.
Can you imagine that conversation between the husband and the wife planning their bathroom renovation? Shall we go for the Dokkaebi tiles?
I'm like, well, I was thinking more of a checker sort of pattern, but Dokkaebi
Don't
it
know
is.
how I feel about all those little Dokkaebi looking up the towel. But if you've got your heart set on it...
Yeah, so the version on these little tiles show a type of Dokkaebi that is what most people seem to have kind of come to accept. So they have horns, bulging eyes, a wide face and mouth, long sharp teeth, a hairy body and long claws.
It's a goat.
Oh, not quite. So it's a bit like one of those like Chinese lion dance lions,
Yeah.
but also kind of not.
Am I allowed to Google image search a Dokkaebi?
You can.
Okay.
So sort of imagine like a lion dance lion crossed with like a troll with like kind of horns and teeth and shit sticking out everywhere, and you're kind of halfway there. It's not a kind of direct translation that's easy to... Terrifying bizarre.
I don't like it.
So you're viewing the face of the Dokkaebi now?
I'm viewing the Dokkaebi's face, and this is frightening. They look like trouble.
Yeah, they sure do. So there's, as I said, there are a whole bunch of different types of Dokkaebi, so for different kind of situations and purposes. So some types of Dokkaebi have like one eye, some have one leg, some are stupid, some like wrestling, some are good, some are evil, some like eating, some like archery. Basically, there are Dokkaebi for all occasions, which I imagine is extremely convenient if you're have kind of come across a situation that's hard to, explain why what is happening, and you just go, well, it was a Dokkaebi.
Dokkaebi did it.
Dokkaebi
Must have done that.
Yeah, it's like, well, why did you, get drunk and fall over? And they're like, well, I wasn't actually drunk. It was a Dokkaebi came up and asked me to wrestle, and he won, and I fell over. And they go, oh, yeah, okay, I guess.
Some Dokkaebis like to leave the toilet seat up.
Yeah, I'm sure some of them do. If you've got one leg,
Dokkaebi took it.
Yeah.
Took my leg.
Yes, absolutely. So in the Goblin TV show, the main guy is a guy called Kim Shin, and he is turned into a Dokkaebi after he's run through with his own sword, and he's then resurrected by a godlike entity, which is basically God.
God-like entity. He's a lot like God. He's God.
Yeah.
Let's just say God. Let's just call him God.
Let's just call him God.
Just call it how it is.
Yeah. He basically curses him to live life as an eternal goblin until he finds his bride, who will be able to see the ghost sword that is still protruding from his chest, and to pull it out to end his 1,000-year-long suffering. So this is all total TV bullshit and is not at all how the Dokkaebi are formed.
I'm going to make you suffer. For 1,000 years, you'll be a good-looking man who will roam the earth getting plenty of...
What?
Tang.
And wearing all the fanciest, finest clothes.
Yeah, I can understand if he got hairy and grew horns and turned into a bulging goat man with one leg who left the toilet seat up.
No.
That's a punishment.
Yeah. No, he was hot.
He was dapper.
Sure was. So in, reality or mythology or however you want to call it, they're actually formed by the spiritual possession of old inanimate objects like brooms, baskets, grinding pestles, other household objects, or objects stained with human blood. So, yeah, they don't take human form like in the show, though if you wanted to, you could argue that perhaps the bloodstained sword is actually the Dokkaebi and the body is just its way of getting around. But I think I'd probably be giving the show a bit too much credit there. So the Dokkaebi...
Every 3 weeks, the Dokkaebi's back.
Oh, dear. They've got like a possessed tampon.
Yeah. Well, you said there were all types of Dokkaebis.
Yeah.
This one seems very erratic to me.
Oh, those tampon Dokkaebi, they're so fiery. Yeah, so they're more like spirit things as opposed to actual physical beings. Yeah. But the blue glow of the sword in the show is based on truth because blue flames are a sign of a Dokkaebi's presence. So they got one thing right, at least. But I mean, really, if there's going to be a show about a broom, a romantic drama about a broom, would you rather have the show about the broom or the good-looking man? I know it's very shallow and heteronormative of me, but I would prefer the good-looking man.
Sounds like both had the ability to sweep you off your feet.
Oh! Yeah.
That's a crowd pleaser.
That
joke
nice
to play
one
anyway.
for
Gran would like that one.
Yeah, it's a nice little... What is it? The Sorcerer's Apprentice gag there. It's nice.
It's a palate cleanser.
Multi-generational.
After your goblin tampon talk.
Yeah. So Dokkaebi are a little bit like Edward from Twilight in that they prefer to hang out at nighttime, but if it's like foggy, rainy or overcast, they can also be found cruising around. So as long as there's no sort of bright sunlight, they're pretty sweet. So they mainly hang in like sparsely populated areas like thick woodland areas, graveyards and abandoned houses. So they're creeps that hang out at creepy places at night.
Okay, so
yeah.
a lot like Edward from
Very much like
Twilight.
Edward from Twilight, yeah. Yeah, remember Edward had that like weird aversion to like Bella's blood and it looked like he smelt a fart every time she came in the room. Yeah, that's why Dokkaebi have to stay away from people because everyone just smells like farts to them.
And she was a lot like an old broom.
Sure. So we've looked at what they look like.
Yeah, so terrifying.
Yeah, how they're formed, where they hang out. Now, every good mythological creature is equipped. Now, what weapons do Dokkaebi have?
Machine guns.
No, not quite. They have a special Dokkaebi club, which is basically like a magical wand that can summon things. Which is pretty cool, but they can't like Green Lantern shit out of thin air. It has to be something that already exists physically in the world. So if they're feeling a bit parched from wandering around and doing Dokkaebi things and causing some mischief and they've pissed on somebody's parade and they need to be replenished and they want to summon a beer is going to go missing from a bottle somewhere in the world. They don't just make a beer, they technically steal the beer.
This is such a hat wearing a hat wearing a hat.
Yeah, it is.
Because it's like, oh, I'm a broom that becomes a Dokkaebi because somebody...
The Dokkaebi inhabits the broom.
Okay, so
yeah.
I'm a Dokkaebi, I inhabit a broom.
Yeah.
Now I need a broom.
Yeah.
So I use my magic wand to summon a different broom.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look,
like, mythology is not a straight line,
but
man.
Is our mythology like that? Look, unicorn.
Yeah.
It's a horse with a horn on its head.
Yeah.
If you want to get really fancy, shit's rainbows, whatever. But, like, simple. It's not, it's, if you leave a shoe under it'll grow into a unicorn, and then the unicorn can summon the bloody bowl of cereal by putting its horn in a bush.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I'm glad that the Dokkaebi are a bit more complicated because I couldn't do a half-hour history on fucking unicorns.
Oh, shit, aren't they?
They're pretty shit. They're just a horse with a horn on its head. What's good about that? Nothing.
Yeah.
Speaking of hats, though, they also have a hat. And this hat can make them invisible. Which would be really handy for just directly stealing the beer from the bottle-o. If they were feeling a bit tired from doing too much like magic and they didn't want to summon a beer, they can just go there, put their hat on, tuck a six-pack in their fur and walk out. So Dokkaebi are involved in a lot of Korean folklore stories, mostly being just mischievous little fuckers and getting in trouble. But this is a story that I particularly liked.
Oh, it's story time. I like this.
Story time.
Okay, yes.
This story is about an old man who was living alone in the mountains, just minding his own business when a Dokkaebi rocks up at his house. Maybe it's a broom, maybe it's a goblin-y thing, we don't know.
It's a bucket.
It's a bucket, yeah. Surprised, the nice old bloke gave the Dokkaebi a beer and they became friends. The Dokkaebi visited the old man often and they had long conversations together, but one day the man took a walk by himself in the woods near the river and discovered that his reflection looked like a Dokkaebi.
What?
Freaked out, he realised that he was gradually becoming a Dokkaebi himself, which completely spits in the face of everything that we have learned up to this point.
Was he a broom?
No, he was just a man.
Was his name Mr. Broom?
Well, it didn't say, but I suspect not. So this shit was simply not going to fly. So old mate came up with a plan and invited the creature to his house. He asked, completely conversationally and not sus at all, "Hey, what are you most afraid of?" And the Dokkaebi answered, I'm afraid of blood. Why is that? What are you afraid of? And the man pretended to be very frightened and said, "Oh, I'm afraid of money. That's why I live in the mountains all by myself." And so the next day, the old man kills a cow and pours its blood all over his house, which is going to fucking stink. Why do you do that, buddy? And the Dokkaebi rolls around the next night with a carton of beer ready to hit the piss, and then he sees what the old guy's done and totally flips his shit. He runs away and says, "Well, I'm going to be back with your greatest fear." And the next day, the Dokkaebi brought bags of money and threw it to the old man. After that, the Dokkaebi never came back, and the old man became the richest person in the town. Suck a dick, Dokkaebi!
Yeah, except the old man couldn't spend it because every time he went down the shops and went, "I really need, have you got any like cleaner that gets rid of blood from the carpets?" They went, "Oh fuck, it's a Dokkaebi," and like ran away. He still had a face like a Dokkaebi, right?
No, well, I don't know. I think that the reflection was like, I think he was still physically a man, but perhaps the reflection was reflecting his spirit. I mean, I'm not here to pick apart these fucking mythological stories.
I'm saying that's pretty intense. Like, you come around here every week. What if you went and looked in the mirror and there's my face looking back at you?
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Worst ever.
Wow. Hey?
Now, the most upsetting thing about the Dokkaebi is that it doesn't have any dick myths attached to it.
What? Now, look, we've established very firmly last week that you are the dick weaver.
I was a born dick weaver, yeah.
That, history was only going to take us so far, but there's a point where you're going to have to be able to relate these stories to dicks if we want this thing to have an audience.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I was very conscious of making sure that the dick weaving was, it felt natural, that I wasn't just going to be shoving a dick in where it wasn't required, because there's a word for that. And our podcast doesn't need to be part of any unsolicited dick shoving.
And I thought, to be honest, when you first messaged me about this, I thought we were talking about the Dokkaebi.
Yeah. I mean, like, maybe history got it wrong, and the Dokkaebi that just has one leg actually has no legs.
And one big dick.
And one massive dick that he hops around on. But
yeah, well, you said there were all types of Dokkaebis.
Yeah, but I couldn't find any documentation to back that up, so that would just be sort of headcanon, Dokkaebi headcanon. And
this story I'm doing where an old man drinks a lot of beer with the Dokkaebi, and then he goes for a piss, and the helmet of his penis is reflected in the water of the toilet, and it's a Dokkaebi's face.
Yeah. That's
a
pretty. That's a really cool fan fiction.
It's going to be a graphic. It's going to be a graphic novel.
Yeah,
but
cool.
whatever. I don't labels.
Yeah, but Look, the Dokkaebi may have let us down, but thankfully there are other Korean dick myths that can save the day.
Oh, here's a little segment, recurring segment on the show we like to call Korean Dick Myths.
So there's a place called Haesindang Park, which is on the east coast of South Korea.
Sure, it's not Haesindang Park.
It's famous for having a whole lot of dick statues.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, in fact, it's actually known colloquially as Penis Park.
Clever.
Yeah.
I see what they did there.
Do you want wood and stone dicks? You got it.
Yes.
Do you want cartoonish dicks with faces?
Oh, yes. Like, that's just like the story I'm writing.
You got it. You want cannons in the shape of dicks?
I want my dick to be the shape of a cannon, but yes, and the functionality. But sure, yes.
Do you want the animals of the Chinese zodiac represented through dicks?
Oh, so like I'm the dragon, the fire dragon. It could be a fiery dick dragon.
Yeah, the picture I saw, I'm the year of the rat, and I saw the rat face dick.
I kind of want to Google image search this.
I think you probably should.
What's it called? And because let's spell it out because people are going to want to Google image search this as they're listening.
Haesindang Park. So Haesindang.
Oh, look, I only had to go to the HAES and it was like, do you mean Haesindang Park?
Do you mean the dick park?
Are you sure? It's popping up things. Are you sure? Do you really want to? Ho. Now look. This is the most, family photos.
Yeah.
How you get a photographer and like brothers and sisters and stuff lay on each other and things. Here's a beautiful shot of a young girl, a little boy, reclining on a giant penis with legs.
Yeah. Some of the ones, there's some very, like, upsettingly realistic dick sculptures at this park. Like, the cartoony ones are fine. But yeah, there's some others that are like, oh, okay, maybe don't let little Timmy drape himself across the dome.
This one's a big wooden one with a hand around it.
Some of them, there was one that I saw and it was like a dick with a dick. Like it looked like one of those rabbit vibrator things.
It's a big giant double dick.
Yeah, so there is actually a legend attached to this collection. It's not just some like creep with a fetish starting their own public exhibition of wang.
I'd love this to be one eccentric billionaire's life work.
According to the legend, a woman was once left by her man on a rock in the sea while he worked. He was a fisherman. And the man was later unable to retrieve her because a storm had whipped up and he wasn't able to get to her, and the woman drowned. Uh-oh. After that, all the people in the village weren't able to catch fish, and some said that it was because of the dead woman. And we have previously established that ghosts are pretty vengeful fuckers, right?
Yeah.
And they're thinking that this woman has sent away all the fish because she was angry that she died on a rock, which, to be fair, that's fair enough, I think. So
I'd give her the fish thing.
Yeah. So one day, a fisherman ejaculated into the water, and afterwards he was able to catch fish. So it was thought that exposing the deceased virgin to male genitalia pleased her. Now, I have read a couple of different versions of this story. Most of the versions say that the guy just weed into the water, but I like the version where he ejaculated into the water because...
What do you think he was thinking about?
I don't know, like sexy fish gills or something.
Mermaids.
I love, back in the olden days, they'd come up with stories to explain away things, and I like to think that. So the fish have all come back, right?
Yeah.
And
nature's bait.
Yeah, well, I like to think that having an entire village of people nutting into the ocean, surely that would bring back the fish because they're like, oh, this is a new and unusual protein source.
Bunch of chums putting out their man chum into the water.
Yeah, so to soothe their spirit further, everyone went wanked in the river, but also the local local people in the village made several phallic wooden carvings and held religious ceremonies on her behalf.
I'm just looking at your will here, and sort of this very specific preparations you've made during the death. Am I right in thinking that you would like the cremated remains to go into the river and then everybody wank into the river?
Well, that's what's on my will. So, yeah, after a while, the fish slowly returned and the villagers were able to live comfortably again next to an ocean that was solid.
So, yes, yeah. And,
just solid, just a cum river.
Yeah, and that is the origin of the jellyfish.
The place where the woman died was named Awabi Rock, and the building where the religious ceremony is held twice a year was named Haesindang, which is where Haesindang Park comes from.
I see what you did there.
So, I have one more Korean penis-y story.
Yeah,
now,
and you should, by the way, if people are in that area, go to the Korean Ballet and see Spoof Lake. It's fantastic.
Oh dear. I'm glad that you got that joke out before I took a mouthful of drink because your living room would have worn it. So this other one I found, it may well be my favourite thing that I have read while researching this entire podcast. It's a bit of a folk tale / kind of fable, explaining, like a fable, like it would explain why something happens. Yeah. So this one's explaining why people's noses run when they catch a cold.
Okay.
And it was recounted by a Korean elementary schoolboy in 1915. So it's fair to say that it's probably complete bullshit, but it's still absolutely fantastic. So this, I'm not gonna spiffy this one up. This is the direct translation from the Korean, so I'm just gonna read this straight.
So this is like the Korean version of kids say the dumbest things.
Yeah. So long ago, there was a king who had a son, and this son had 2 penises hanging there. So when it came time for him to marry, his father planned to marry him to a girl with 2 vulvas. But although they searched far and wide, they couldn't find such a girl.
Two Volvos?
2 vulvas.
Okay.
Vulvas.
Vulvas.
That's my favourite Vikings character.
Volvus was great in that last season, wasn't he? It's so much done. And so accommodating.
Never had to go out with, many pockets. Just able to carry everyone's stuff. It was really nice.
True.
It's
a bit wet behind the ears.
Yeah, the king's son died without ever getting married, so he became a ghost who wandered around looking for a girl with 2 vulvas. The ghost searched everywhere and looked very hard, but he just couldn't find one. And so, since there was nothing else he could do, he began doing it to people's nostrils. From that time on, people began to catch a cold. When somebody catches a cold, his nose is stuffed up at first and he can't breathe, and then later his nose starts to run. That's because when the ghost puts his penises up there, the nose feels stuffed up. After he's finished, he takes them out, and that's when people can start to breathe again. But because he left his liquid up there, their noses run.
This kid. Forget your Roald Dahls. Forget your J.K. Rowling. This is a story. Why hasn't this been made into it?
Oh God, I don't know. When I first read that, I cried. I was just like, oh, I wonder what this is, and it just got crazier and crazier.
Wow.
Yeah. So
yeah, I hope everyone listening will never forget that when they have a runny nose.
Yeah, I mean, if you weren't miserable enough when you have a cold, just think there is a ghost prince sticking his dick in your nose.
Both dicks.
Well, most of the time you only have one side blocked up, don't you?
And his name was Alan Two Dicks.
Maybe that's fucking Prince Eddie's game.
Well, what about, we were talking the other week when we all went to Bollywood Indian restaurant together, and we were talking about people's noses running when they eat hot food.
Oh.
It was hot something else.
Maybe.
Hanging around Indian restaurants.
Yeah, well, I mean, there wasn't any folk tales about noses running for that reason. But yeah, I mean, colds are bad enough, but now they've just been completely ruined for you, or made better. I mean, it really depends on where you're sitting on the fence there.
What's like snot then?
Congealed cum.
All right. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Well, you asked the question. So that is us for this time. We're going to end.
Wow.
We're going to end with a big chunk
apology.
With a big congealed apology. We are very, very sorry.
Yeah.
But you knew what this was. Go and visit us.
The person that's going, let me search up history. I think it'd be great to learn about things while I drive to work.
Yeah. Oh, even Siri woke up. No, Siri, you can pipe down.
Did you say congealed?
Oh, that's an image search that I do not want. I've got some pretty bad shit on my internet search history now because of this show, but I do not need congealed cum to be one of those. So
you keep saying that.
well, yeah, the phone still hasn't gone off, so I think Siri's had her interest piqued by that. Anyway, you can visit us at fruitlesspursuits.com and links to this show, all the other shows. You can rate and review us on iTunes. Thank you very, 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 very much to the 2 people who have reviewed us in the Australian store and the US store. That was very lovely of you, and we really, really appreciate it. Next time, I'm not 100% sure what we're doing. I think it might be Moondine Joe.
Moondine Joe? That's an Australian thing.
It is a West Australian thing.
Oh, well, shit.
So it's even better than being an Australian thing.
Looking forward to that. And what a great tie-in to some of the other shows happening at the moment. So that sounds great. Yeah,
so you can find out info about all the other shows that we do. FP Cast is a pop culture show that we do every single week. There is also Dungeons and Drongos, the D&D podcast that Luke does. And you'll be able to find links to all of that stuff on fruitlesspursuits.com and the Facebook page and etc, etc, etc.
Hells yeah.
Hell yeah. We will see you next fortnight. Badonkadonk.